G'day, Steve here, Woodworking Masterclass. Welcome to the workshop. What I'd like to do today is talk about moisture in timber. Nothing will cause you more grief when you're making particularly furniture and in particularly doors than the moisture content of timber. And it's really important you understand the reason you should check the moisture content and how you can prevent things from splitting, cracking, warping and buckling. So, with that in mind, I'd like to introduce you to the Bessemeter Pinless Moisture Meter. So the people at Bessemeter sent me that to do a video on and talk about moisture content and the importance of understanding what level it's at in the timber you're using. And as my reward for doing the video, yes, I get to keep the meter. So thank you very much, Bessemeter. Really appreciate it. So up until pinless meters came along, I was using a pin meter. Unfortunately, I don't have it anymore because once I switched over to a pinless, it was superfluous. But a pin meter is, I can show you roughly what it looks like. The one I was using was roughly that shape and it had 4 pins on the end. This isn't a moisture meter, this is a tachometer, but that was the shape. You can get all sorts. Some have got 2 pins and the one I had 4 pins. It worked on a 9-volt battery, and what you did, you would put the pins into the timber and then through, I don't know how it works, but it's electrical voltage drop or whatever, it will give you the moisture content of that timber. The big downside that I found out with that is you're only getting the moisture from 1 millimeter into your timber. Whereas with the pinless meters, you can go to the middle of the timber depending how thick it is, and also you can see what's happening in the board. 2 types of water in timber. First of all, it's the free water, and if you ever get your own timber, what you do, you cut it down, and you wrap it up, and the free water will come out of the fibrous tubes of the timber itself on the end grain. But then you've got water retention, which is actually inside the timber itself, and that can only come out through the thickness, if you like, of the timber. It won't come out of the ends. So a lot of times you'll have a piece of timber, might be 2 inches thick, and you think, wow, that's dry, look at that. And then when you go and use it and you cut it open, you find out it's pretty wet inside. So that's where these pinless meters come into play, because you can actually read the moisture content in various parts of the timber, and I'll show you a little bit later on with a slab. But to set this up, what you get, these come in around the $300 mark, I think. But get a nice safe box, foam, an instruction book, and a stand for calibration, which I'll talk about in a tick. So here's the meter itself. So you've got an on-off button, you've got a density button, which I'll explain. That's an audible button, so it'll beep if you like. And the last one is your depth button. And these are your arrows to move your depth or move your density ratings, which we'll go into. So first of all, you've got to calibrate it. And it comes calibrated from the factory, but it's good just to check. On the back of the calibration table, it will show you and explain how you actually calibrate the pinless moisture meter, so you know that it's going to give you a consistent reading all the time. So in this case, you've got to set the, well, it'll say here, place the calibration verification reference on its legs on a non-metallic surface. Important, not metallic. Turn on the meter, then use the material button in conjunction with the up and down buttons, which I showed you there, and set your specific gravity to 0.5%. So let's do that. I'll turn it on. And then we go to calibration, and I'll move that until I get, whoops, going the wrong way. Okay, 0.5. So now we will first of all check we'll check the quarter first. This button here will denote the depth at which you're reading moisture. That is 1/4 of an inch. The next one is 3/4 of an inch. So if we go to 1/4 of an inch, press the on button, and then place this square portion into the recess on the back of the calibration table. And that will give you a reading 11.1%. When it's lying on the table, it's actually 10.8. So if you look on the back of the table, it will say for calibration 11%, plus or minus 1%. So we're well within range there. Now we'll change it to the deeper setting, which is 3/4 of an inch. Come over here, do the same thing, place it in the slot, and there we have, okay, when it's sitting down it's 16.8 and that's 17.5, but on the back we're well within range because it says 17% plus or minus 1%. So I know this is accurate. So now what I want to do is see how dry my timber is. So I've got a few little bits and pieces here that I've pulled out of the yard. First one is, this is a piece of New Guinea rosewood, and as you can tell it's been weathered. It's been sitting in my yard for about 3 years. And you'd think, being out there, it gets pretty hot here in Queensland and Australia, you'd think it'd be really dry. Let's check it out. Oh, first of all, we've got to work out what the specific gravity of the timber is. Now you can do this online if you like. I've got a book which I've had for many years, and it's called Timber of Australia, or Wood in Australia. Now, in the manual that you get with this, they actually give you pages at the back with different species and their specific gravities. What I have noticed is that can change around the world. So it's always a good idea, if you're going to have local timber, get some local information on what the specific gravity is on that timber and where it's grown. If it's in a really wet area, it's going to be different to if it's in a really sandy area and what have you. So this is pretty good for me because it's got Australian species and that's what I'm working with. This is New Guinea rosewood. So I'll just look up rosewood and New Guinea rosewood. Here we go. That's it there, New Guinea rosewood. What you're looking for is, it's called ADD. Now I'm not sure, I've seen two different versions of what ADD stands for. One is air dry density and the other is average dried density, so whatever. There'll be two ratings. They'll give you a GD, which is ground density, which is the density of the timber once it's been cut down. If it's a tree, it drops, you take that density and it's going to be a lot heavier than after it's been dried because, as I mentioned before, that free water's got a lot of free water in it. So this one doesn't have ground density, so that's fair enough. Okay, so I've got rosewood, New Guinea rosewood. I'm looking at the wrong one. Oh no, here we go. New Guinea rosewood. Where do I look over the page? Okay, ADD is 650 kilos per cubic metre. So what that means, the weight of the timber for a cubic metre is 650 kilos. So for example, if you're picking up a load of timber from a timber yard and you've got a trailer and the trailer is rated at 750 kilos, you can look up and go, oh yeah, I can carry a kilo, I can carry a cubic metre of that in my trailer and it's going to be legal. If you go to ironbark, it's about 950 kilos per cubic metre. No, too heavy. So there you go. So to get the setting, you need on here, divide 650 kilos by 1,000, and that'll give you 0.65. So we'll set this up at 0.65. I'll turn it on. And then we go into density, which is this button here, and we'll go 0.65. There we go. Now, at the moment, let's have a look. We'll go 3/4 inch, and we'll see what the moisture is. Now, this is a 2-inch board, so if I go 3/4 of an inch on this side and 3/4 of an inch on that side, okay, I'm not getting to the dead centre, but I'm getting a pretty good reading of what it is. When you use the meter, you have it along the grain, so don't have it across the grain like that. Have it with the grain and a slight amount of pressure on it, and that is giving me 9.7. Okay, so that's moving because I'm moving, but 9.7, around 10%. In Queensland, that's not too bad. 10 to 12% is good. We'll do it up here. And because it's at the end of the timber, it's drier because all that free water's gone, where it's moist, the moisture is trapped in the middle here. Now, if we go to 1/4 inch, so we'll change that height again to 1/4 inch, and then we do the same thing. I'm guessing we're going to have a drier, whoops, press that. We're going to get a drier reading. Okay, 6.2. The reason for that is because the top part of the timber, the top part here, it's getting rid of a lot of that moisture that's in there, but it's still trapped in the core. So when you get a piece like this, if you're going to make a door or a panel or a shelf, what the process is, rip it down the middle and then put bits of timber in it and allow it to air dry for 2 or 3 days before you finally machine it. What you'll notice then, this timber will cup. It will cup away from the heartwood, so the heartwood will stay flat, but the outside, going out to the outside of the tree, will actually cup up. And then after about 2 or 3 days, you can machine it, joint it, put it through a thicknesser or hand planes, however you want to do it, and that then will remain stable. However, you've still got to be mindful it's going to move as the seasons change. In summer, it's going to shrink because you're going to lose moisture, and in winter, because of the rain and what have you, it's going to absorb moisture and it's going to expand. That's why when you're making doors or doing a lid to a box or a cabinet, you've got to have a floating cabinet. I'll go into that in some later videos. I'm starting to make bow boxes, and I'll demonstrate how important it is to allow the panels to move. Just a side issue to that, I know I'm talking moisture meters, but if you're going to make a panel, a floating panel in a door, spray it or finish it, shellac it, whatever you're going to do, finish it before you actually put the door together. And the reason for that is if you put your panel in, it could be in autumn, it could be in winter, you put your panel in, you spray it, and then summer comes, all of a sudden the panel will shrink and you'll get an edge around your door panel that hasn't been finished. So there you go, little tip. All right, let's try some other timber. This is Western red cedar, and this is very, very light. I make bee boxes out of this, so we go Western red cedar. So we'll look up cedar It's in here somewhere. Cedar, Western Red, 265. Okay, Western Red Cedar, the ADD is 350. I don't know if you can read that there, but 350 ADD. So again, I get this, I set my specific gravity to 350, or 0.35, and I want to check the inside. So I'll change the depth to 3/4 of an inch, and then we put it on there, and we're looking at about 7.4, 7.5. Now that isn't an issue because this is a very, very light timber and it loses its moisture very quickly. We'll use another bit here. This is Jarrah from Western Australia, and it's a very dense timber. In fact, I think it's about 850. Let me have a check, see. Jarrah, here we go, 820. 820 kilos per cubic metre. So divide that by 1,000, that gives me 0.82. Again, we'll change this to 0.82. All right, 0.82. And we're going down, this is about 3/4 of an inch. Whoops. So it's going to give me a reading right through to the other side. It's 11.4, 11.5, between 10 and 12%, that's okay. But because it's that thick or thin, I don't really want to know what it is on the other side because it's really measuring the surface on the other side. So I'll go to 1/4 of an inch on that one. Let me just change this. Okay, so we're on 1/4 of an inch, and we'll try it again. It should be a little bit higher than 7 point, there you go. 8.3, that's fine. That is good enough for me. Now just to give you an idea of how moisture moves around, here's a slab. Oh dear, oh. That's a slab of Norfolk pine. Now this has been cut down for 22 years and it's been in Queensland, which is cool. It's been in Queensland, which is hot, and I've got Norfolk Island in here. It's pretty close to hoop pine. I think hoop pine's 520 from memory. Let's have a look, see. Yeah, GD on this is 680, so when the trees are cut down, 680 kilos per cubic metre, and when it's dried, it'll lose 150 kilos in free water. So the ADD of this is 530 kilos per cubic metre. So I divide that by 1,000, that's 0.53. So I'll set this up once more at 0.53. Okay, 0.53, and that's a healthy slab. So I really want to see what the middle is doing. So I'll bring that down to 3/4, and we'll try it. So that's 14.8 there, and as I slide up the table, it goes up. That's 15.4. I come down the other end. It's 15.4. 15.4, but down this end, that was 15.4, 13.9, that was a big knot there. But you go out to the edges, it's 13.6, because it's lost a lot of moisture from the edge. But in the middle, we're still looking, well, there's 16.4 there. So there's still a couple of percentage of moisture in the middle that I don't really want. This I'm actually going to make a harp out of. So what I will do when I get around to it, I'll cut the pieces for the harp out, and then I'll allow them to air dry for a couple of weeks, just to make sure I can get it so it's not going to twist or bend or do things. If it was thinner, if it was 3/4 of an inch, 19 mil, 22 mil, 7/8, whatever, 2 or 3 days. But because it's a harp, I'll let it sit for maybe 2 weeks. And this timber, remember, has been down for 22 years and it still has that much moisture in the middle. So there you go. If I had only had a pin meter, I can guarantee I would put it in there and it will give me a reading of about 8.9, no more than 10%, because it's so dry on the top. But once you go into it, that's where your moisture is and that's where your problem is. So generally if you're buying timber from a big box store, it's not an issue. But when you're buying timber from a timber yard, or especially, or more importantly, if you are buying timber by a merchant that's selling online, and oh, I've got all this timber, it's been down for years, yeah, it's dry, get yourself a moisture meter, go out there and test it, because I can guarantee it's not. I've got some 3x3s and 4x4 posts outside that have been down for 18 years, and I guarantee they would be 16% moisture content in the middle after all that time. And I haven't got a piece here, but if I put it through the bandsaw, you would see moisture coming out just in front of the saw blade as it exits the bit of timber. So there you go. This particular model is the DS500. There it is, DS500. And the beauty of this one is it gives you the dual depth. So you've got a 1/4 inch or 3/4 inch. And if you look at that, you can do a 1/2 inch board, an inch board with the 1/4 inch, because that will go both sides. Or you can do almost a 2 inch board, 3/4 inches each side. So you go 3/4 inch down, 3/4 inch down, and that's going to give you a really good reading. Not much else I can tell you, I suppose. Great bit of gear to have in your kit, particularly if you're going to be building heirloom furniture, musical instruments, particularly musical instruments, because the moisture can absolutely play havoc there. And as I said, comes in a really great little case, 9-volt battery. You don't have to calibrate it or check it every time. I would do it every couple of months just to make sure. If there is a problem, ring up Bessemeter and they'll give you the information you need. They've been terrific with me, very, very patient and most helpful. So that's it, the Bessemeter DS500 Pinless moisture meter. Highly recommend them. Just go and get one and put it in your kit, and you'll find that maybe your woodworking journey will be a little bit more pleasant. And wood turners, again, you don't know how green that bowl is. It might seem nice on the outside, but put the moisture meter on and you'll find it's very wet on the inside. So when you turn the bowl, if you turn it all at once, it's going to warp on you. Anyway, that's it. So this is Steve pulling the shed door down, saying, hey, thanks once again, Bessemeter. And remember to keep it sharp, but more importantly, keep it safe, look after yourself, be kind to each other, and I'll catch you in the workshop very, very soon. Bye for now.